Trump's rise coincides with De Niro's decline. And the person who knows it most is De Niro. He's a fine example of how not to turn loss into bitterness. There are plenty of people who don't like Trump, but don't let it warp their minds or their ability to speak aloud among grown-ups or The View. But the shifts in De Niro's of the world are emotionally damaged by politics to a point where they can't even assess their own emotions. Being an actor is tough. For how does one handle real life without a script? Not equipped to think analytically, you're left powerless when observing your own predictions about life turn out wrong. It's not supposed to be this way, De Niro thinks. Only the cool guys get to win. Sorry, Bob. That's only in the movies, but at least you'll always have...
Formerly acclaimed as a titan of film, Robert De Niro now stumbles through political tirades like an old man in a Twitter feud. Then Greg Gutfeld took over equipped with humor, sarcasm, and a sledgehammer of truth. There was no roast that ensued. De Niro's antiquated indignation and Gutfeld's unrelenting reality check collided at high speed. Gutfeld revealed a grumpy figure who was out of step with the times with every remark, tearing off the tough man facade. This was unraveling, not acting.
De Niro graced the knitting circle in hell known as The View, where he tried to link random thoughts into a sentence. Joy was there to wind him up, since he's played some of the most unredeemable characters.
You have played some of the most really unredeemable characters. Travis Bickle. Travis Bickle was a psychopathic taxi driver. Jake LaMotta, who used to beat his wife, and he was in The Raging Bull. Is Trump worse than they are?
To me, he is. He has no understanding that I can see of the outside world.
Hollywood's most reliable source of uninvited outbursts is now Robert De Niro, the once dominant force of cinematic genius. The man who used to whisper threats in mob movies now yells like a foghorn in a political tempest without any warning, without any prompting, and without any filter. And just when it seems that he could go no deeper into self-parody, Greg Gutfeld enters without apprehension and starts destroying what remains of De Niro scene by scene, meltdown by meltdown, brick by brick.
De Niro kind of represents Hollywood in the sense that they realize that they're losing influence with the public, and that's what's generating the emotional response. They've never felt less important.
It just doesn't feel like 2016 again. Like we lived through that. Did they forget?
Yeah.
It also feels like they forgot that. And remember, just this week we had Kamala Harris dropping the F-bomb at a group.
There was no red carpet, no grand entrance, just a smirk and a raised eyebrow as he threw verbal grenades at a man who somehow turned shouting into a personality. The roast starts with clinical precision like a surgeon diagnosing a swollen ego with terminal delusion, rather than fire.
Robert De Niro's 29-year-old child, Aaron, has come out as transgender. When the press asked her for comment, she said, "You talking to they, them?" Thank you. Last night, an elderly, confused man went missing in New York. Luckily, a band of self-satisfied elitists found him babbling on the street, threw some pants on him, gave him a stage.
Furthermore, De Niro has made things so simple that it isn't even difficult. He is now a parody of himself with a sulky movie icon who refuses to call it quits, wheezing through every press conference as if he were trying out for the part of the most irate man alive in an unapproved sequel. Previously delivering performances that shook people's souls, the same man now delivers tirades that shake coffee cups.
I really worry that if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody who deludes themselves in thinking that he is.
He must only watch. Like a bad habit, De Niro gave up nuance, which formerly had layers, complexity, and intrigue. It's simply volume now. The noise that tries to fill the void left by the talent that packed its bags sometime around Dirty Grandpa is loud, aimless.
Trump.
Talk about persuasive. Really, I was on the fence about Trump, but then I decided to really listen to one of the great generational leaders of American pop culture. And the clenched fist at the end, that really drove it home. It looked like he was pressing a 2-pound weight in a Jenny Craig commercial.
Oh my God.
Look at it again. It's so cute. It's like he found out the restaurant serves Jell-O, or that he won a $10 scratch.
Actually, it was the title, not satire. De Niro was once the driving force behind Travis, Bickle, and Jake LaMotta, but nowadays he portrays a shirtless, angry relic in movies that seem like abandoned Saturday Night Live parodies. Gutfeld doesn't need to embellish. The harm he inflicted on himself is sufficient. Desperation is evident in De Niro's recent parts, which substitute humor and frowns for his legacy. It's him, though not just the movies, the new De Niro makes mistakes for relevance, rants on panels, and handles Twitter like politics. As he watches De Niro stumbling around in a bathrobe like King Lear and yelling at a tailor who had given up, Gutfeld laments the art's demise rather than criticizing.
Star of Dirty Grandpa Robert De Niro getting censored by The View after raging like a bull who saw a red MAGA hat.
And they might think that it's going to make their life better, or they just want to, excuse my French, literally, it's almost like he wants to do the worst that he could possibly do to show this country.
And no, the title was satire, not the opposite. Real movie, real performance, real melancholy. The man who brought us Jake LaMotta and Travis Bickle now walks around as a sleazy, shirtless, elderly buffoon in a film that seems to have been pieced together from rejected Saturday Night Live bits Gutfeld doesn't even have to make fun of. It because the content does it for him. In a world that has moved on, De Niro's new filmography seems like a last-ditch effort to remain relevant. His formerly impressive resume now functions as a manual on how to use slapstick and frowns to ruin your reputation. Furthermore, it's the man, not simply the movies. In the new De Niro, anger is viewed as a virtue and Twitter as a political tool. He shouts as if noise equaled truth on panels and award events, showing no signs of reasoning. Greg is lamenting the state of art, not criticizing it. Like King Lear in a bathrobe, De Niro staggers around, certain that the world is still, waiting for him to give the signal. Furthermore, Gutfeld doesn't take offense. Instead, he merely notes that the emperor is shouting at the tailor in addition to being naked.
Understanding that I can see of the outside world other than anything around him. He has no idea of what his purpose in life is as the president should be, and that is to pull the country together, to be for the people, to heal wounds, not to open them up and pour salt on them.
De Niro clearly has thought about this. More so than his career, his choice of roles is now down to cinnamon and lobster. He was then asked about the Trump kids. At least he doesn't want my kids to take this the wrong way.
De Niro is criticized by Gutfeld not just because he is De Niro, but also because he continues to act as though he is giving Oscar-worthy monologues, even though in fact, he is just a metaphor away from a daytime soap opera called As the Ego Turns. Instead of waiting for his next outburst, people are simply waiting for him to finish speaking. Like a personal hurricane warning, he walks into interviews, which the producers silently fear. His supporters are perplexed too. They used to quote his films, but now they quote his interviews for their inadvertent humor, which is akin to ramblings penned in a fit of rage. His tirades are fruitless, wending through resentment and cable news catchphrases. He only needs to be shown the mirror. Gutfeld doesn't have to bash him. In it, a former Titan expresses his personal annoyance while being burdened by his prior gravitas. Even at brunch, De Niro continues to play the angry elder statesman of Hollywood, a position he invented, portrayed, and plays constantly. No one requested this reality show, so it's no longer a movie.
And they don't like most of the Trump voters because they are Americans. And De Niro, how stupid is he without a script? Isn't that amazing? I used to think, wow, that guy's brilliant. But once you take the words away from him, he is so stupid. Then when he says, impeachment will make America great again, and everybody's, how intellectually deprived he is. He's a coke-addled.
Greg, ever the observer, not only draws attention to the ridiculousness, but he also relishes it. Not because he admires it, but because it's the kind of slow-motion train accident that's impossible to ignore. Even De Niro's facial expressions seem to be repeated. He missed his point, as seen by his famous squint that formerly denoted serious thought. That tilt of the head, once dangerous, now just confused by caffeine. The sad thing is that he had the opportunity to leave a legend. Rather, he snatched a front row seat at the circus, crammed himself into the clown car, and began honking as if his credibility relied on it, and it might. What's left if not the headlines and the noise? Greg inquires because the fall is fascinating not to make fun of it. Not only does De Niro's breakdown serve as a warning, but it also serves as an example of what occurs when gifted people try to force themselves to change. He is not a victim of change. He volunteers his time.
Thinks only the cool guys get to win. Sorry, Bob. That's only in the movies, but at least you'll always have joy. You know, when dislike is so emotional, Katie, I always think it means something else. Like he's actually thought about this. Like, he's like, it's in his head. And I can't help but think it's because they're of similar age and they're both New Yorkers.
Additionally, he is likely to receive another Oscar and standing ovation for the ghost of the guy who once made movies shudder, rather than for his recent work. Then he will tremble with anger as he takes the platform, squinting at the audience while giving another speech that nobody can comprehend and that everyone pretends to enjoy. However, the reality is that Greg Gutfeld expressed what everyone else was thinking previously. The legend is over. The roast is authentic. Also, Robert De Niro is currently portraying his most believable character to date. Volume has been mistaken for virtue by the enraged. And this is by no means the end of the show with Robert De Niro. Greg Gutfeld wasn't done yet, still riding the wave of destroyed reputations and movie ego meltdowns. For how could he be, given a character so enmeshed in self-importance? De Niro didn't show up at the roast by chance. He made it a red carpet, asked to be illuminated as if it were an awards ceremony while wearing a tuxedo of fantasy.
It's the wrong way, but if my kids did what these kids did, I wouldn't want to be related to them. I would disown them.
Whoa, this is sad. Here you have someone pretending to be a tough guy turn out to be just a second banana for Joy Behar, the poster child for Trump's arrangement. Sadly, Bob is now just another gibbering, enfeebled ninny, surrounded by inept relatives as he frets about how Trump's in power.
Greg continued to act as though self-defeating behavior had its own Oscar. Once admired for his mafia classics, De Niro now seems like the lead in a biopic, The Decline of Common Sense. He's gone from being a titan of the screen to merely acting like a grumpy oracle with the wisdom of a soggy napkin. The press tour that was just completed, a catastrophe. De Niro fumbled through it as if he were reading fortune cookies through bifocals smeared with booze. Gutfeld was powerless. The actor who played Vito Corleone's successor is unable to do a 5-minute interview without turning it into a therapy session. Instead of responding, he speaks in a monologue akin to Hamlet in a parking lot because De Niro has turned his famous frown into a full-time persona and has become an unintentional performance artist. Greg didn't hold back. Even after being informed that all of his films were shown on airline screens, he still acts as though he is trying to become a saint. When he walks into galas,
when the other team, let's say your team, grabs clips of, say, from The Five or Sean Hannity or Jesse's show, they could say we're wrong, but they can't say they're acting crazy. Like, we have fun. But why is it on the other side, let's say the MSNBC, the CNN, the View side, when they actually appear like they have psychological issues, that this stuff is so ingrained, this Trump derangement, that they are mentally ill? De Niro clearly is having problems. His therapist is getting paid a lot.
The true icing on the cake? De Niro's strange campaign against differing opinions. Like he's filming Why I'm Better. He lives in a penthouse of pretense, out of touch, and looks down on the world while acting as the gatekeeper of decent. De Niro provided the punchlines. like appetizers at a retirement ball, so Gutfeld didn't need to write them. The burly guy, who used to be streetwise, now prepares his 1976 monologues in a robe that is more valuable than a car. Even though the crowds have dispersed, the pigeons have taken up residence, and the marbles are slipping, De Niro continues to believe he is the star of a movie universe that no one is watching. And it was obvious that this roast was far from over as Gutfeld continued to light matches on the remnants of that ego.